Nah, I got something to prove and I ain't never gonna give up. Plenty of juice and I ain't never gonna waste it. Something to do and I ain't never wanna quit it. So come on, get a little bit, I know you wanna play with it.
Coming to you from Studio Iguana Monk down in the Big Dirty, it's the Twisted Pop Podcast, where we explore what it means to be a working artist living in the real world. Please welcome your hosts, Larry Lines and Troy Wingstop.
That's going to be a great podcast.
It's going to be the best.
It's the best. This is the Twisted Pop Podcast, episode 26.
And I'm Troy Winscott.
I'm Larry Lines.
How was your week?
Oh, man. It is the week after Thanksgiving is Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday.
Man, is it like the 28th today? Something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it is the 28th of
We'll call it the 28th.
Yeah. Anyway.
There I was.
Last week I worked one day.
Oh,
and
right
then,
on.
Went to Austin and did Thanksgiving and all that stuff. And, I feel like this week, Monday, it was like, open the door to your bedroom and you just fall into a river that's like, running really fast. That's what I feel like this whole week so far. It's only Tuesday, but
yeah.
I really don't feel like I've gotten in the swing of things.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
It's only the 28th.
It's not December yet. I've got some Christmas lights up.
Wow.
So it's not even December, man.
Man, you are on it.
I got this laser light thing that puts like stars moving all over the front of my house.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's totally insane.
I can't wait to see it.
It's so satisfying to watch this thing. Like I've got all these strings of lights that I put up, and I told you next year what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a cutout of Charlie Brown, and I'm just going to make this big wad of strings of lights. Yeah.
Like he's untangling it?
Yeah. Or like he just gave up. Just like, there it is. Merry Christmas.
That's right.
It's my damn lights.
That would be perfect.
I agree. Because then, of course, I make it sound like it'd be just easy to throw a big wad of lights in there, but I bet it's going to be more work. What can you do?
Yeah. Just try it out.
Yeah. So what about you?
Well, the production season's winding down. I have started drawing on character designs, and just to see if I can do the human figure again.
Production season winding down, what does that mean?
It's just, all the holiday stuff. Like, there's a couple of things on the books, but display windows, bloppity blah blah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's cool.
That is over!
Until after Christmas.
Well, the 4th.
What's that?
The 4th. After the 4th.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So, all right.
That was really exciting. Who are we talking to this week?
We're talking to Duke Hunter.
And
he's a music teacher, rollerblader. Musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does the music for musicians. No, he's a percussionist and drummer. And
he plays multiple instruments because he's playing the guitar when we walked.
Yeah, he said he was teaching himself some guitar this summer so that he could.
Oh, okay.
He's like, well, the kids would probably be more familiar with guitar, so he's like, I'll learn guitar.
There you go.
Yeah, he's got some really cool energy. That's been. Anyway, this is going to be a good interview.
All right, let's
hit it. Hey.
All right.
And here we are with Duke Hunter.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. It's great that you came by with that crazy traffic and the sulfuric acid all over I-10.
I survived. I haven't experienced the long-term effects of this catastrophe yet.
That's good.
We'll do another podcast, episode 131.
Yeah, that's right.
And checking on my
your
health
your long-term effects from this.
So what happened?
There was a truck on at about 11 o'clock this morning. overturned at I-10 in Post Oak, full of sulfuric acid.
Groovy.
Yeah, and it's been closed since then.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out on the surface streets right now in rush hour, anywhere in town, because I-10 is completely shut down.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's what we got going for us today.
It's not going to stop us.
No, it's
Just
not.
getting started.
No, we're just going to get started on this interview here. So, what do you do?
That is a difficult question to answer.
I know, that's why I wasn't going to answer it.
Simply.
Ask it more specifically. I thought I was like, because, and then I was like, I don't know how to do it. So what do you do? That's wherever it goes.
This is a good question without a clear answer, but in a bit of a nutshell, I am a musician, a teacher, and I have a few other hobbies that play a huge part in my life. So as a career, I'm a music teacher, and I also moonlight a bit as a jazz musician, as a freelance percussionist and drum set player. But I also play many different instruments from Cuba, Brazil, West Africa, and more recently the Middle East. So those are all percussion instruments. As a career, I'm a teacher. So I teach pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade. And in that role is my main, that's my main bread and butter, so to speak. I am a music teacher for an Arabic school. So we do Arabic music, but we also do a lot of rudimental stuff. So my class is percussion, is the class that I teach at the school.
Yeah.
And that is combination of Middle Eastern percussion to resonate with the Arabic component of our school, which is it's a Arabic language school. So I don't teach Arabic, I don't speak Arabic, but in that role I teach Arabic percussion. That's my bread and butter.
So did you know Arabic percussion before you started?
In a little bit. I knew a little bit about it. I knew some of the fundamental things about how that music works as a tonal, like the tonal language of the drumming, which is doon tek, doon tek.
Yeah.
There's like that tonal language can be applied to all the different Arabic percussion instruments. So on the darbuka, the main instrument I teach, it sits on your lap here. Doon tek, doon tek, or tek doon, tek doon. It's a way that I use that drum in my class to sort of teach patterns of tonality. The same way that language is taught. Doon tek, doon. So I'm teaching the drum as like a third language at the school. English, Arabic, and percussion, rhythm.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a dream job in a way, and I suspect I'll come back around a little bit to that. But to answer your question, what I do is I'm a musician, I'm a teacher, and I also do a lot of, this is a bit random, but it's pretty integral to my whole character and my life. I rollerblade a lot. And I'm a team-sponsored rider for Sun and Skate, skate shop in Houston. And so I'm a huge inline skating fanatic.
So do you is this like X Games kind of ramp style?
It's not that aggressive. It's not half pipe, quarter pipe, street stuff, but it is rather aggressive in the sense that I do a lot like long distance through the city, and it's not really speed skating. So I'll be weaving in and out of parked cars, rolling through grass. It's kind of like a off-road / on-road aggressive style of skating, but I don't do the grinds, I don't do the jumps. I do longer distances through urban terrain.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I skateboarded a lot. But I never did any grinding or jumps or anything like that. It was primarily a mode of transportation around Houston. And like
that's
back,
long distance enough.
Yeah, I mean, I would escape to work. 10 years ago, I used to do this, and it was like a 5-mile commute. So is pretty funny. But you do the same thing. You're in and out of traffic.
Uh-huh.
But that's interesting. So you're sponsored by Sun and Skate.
Uh-huh.
And where's that?
That is off of 45 North. It's about halfway to...
Spring?
yeah, it's close to Spring. I was going to say halfway to the Woodlands.
Okay.
But it's at the Houston Premier Sportsplex, which is a inline hockey / roller derby / skate shop facility. And it's a huge facility with a massive...
Is that where they do the roller derby stuff?
That's where Houston Roller Derby
that's cool.
operates from.
Now I know. I was always wondering because I see the stuff for it. That they have more than one of these though in Houston, right?
There's, to be honest, derby stuff, I don't know how deep it goes, but I know it goes really deep. There's like lots of levels of professional.
Yeah.
There's professional gradation in the whole community there. So there's like a pro team, amateur team, starter team. There's all kinds of stuff.
I went out with a derby girl for a hot minute, so that doesn't really qualify me for anything. But yeah,
That's pretty
Except
complicated.
to say that.
You live to tell the tale.
well, the
Yeah.
levels. That I got to understand like what the levels were for that hot little minute. But
Yeah.
other than that,
It's complex though. Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's really interesting though because I would have never thought, like you're an inline skater, you don't do extreme sports, you're not jumping, you're not like doing show off tricks and stuff
Right.
like that, but you're sponsored and you
Uh-huh.
do these. Do you like is there some kind of coverage of that, or like if you do something, are you advertising?
So for that team, the way that works is I sort of help support the owner of that shop. She supports me with merchandise and just little things to help me. Like, we recently went to Austin and she helped out with that.
Oh, that's cool.
Met the rollerblade representative there and some of the Moxie skate representatives. So it's not a huge deal I don't make money from it or anything, but the reciprocal benefits are great. I mean,
Yeah. It keeps your hobby going. You're in wheels and gear.
Exactly.
Yeah, and which is big. Because it can get
Yeah.
expensive, and tedious replacing stuff. So that's
So
pretty
they hook
cool.
me up,
That's awesome.
and I wear their gear, and I love them. I love T is the lady who owns the shop, and she's super fantastic. She's one of the most dedicated to skating, and she's dedicated to derby skating, inline skating. She's just loves skating and supports every aspect of skating in Houston, and I don't see it stopping. So I'm happy. I'm proud to be part of her team.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm going to ask, now I end up and asking what you do. Now I have to find out how you got there. So that's really cool, all that. Now I want to know how you got interested in all of that. Where did you go with, how did you start out in music? How did you get into education? And then, by extension, how did you get into skating like that?
Well, I can clear up skating real fast because I was born in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I moved to Indiana, and in the northern states, it's obviously cold, and we have a hockey culture there. So at age 5, I was playing mini mites hockey, and I had started skating when I was about 5 years old on ice. And I worked at the ice skating rink. I rollerbladed in the summer. So it's an interesting thing because I didn't really set out at that young age to be an excellent pro skater. But the 10,000 hour rule kind of thing. It's like that. I have spent many more than 10,000 hours on skates. I suspect, at least. If not right around there. I don't know. It's hard to judge that.
I wonder if
time.
accidents and bruises count for a couple more hours.
let's say they do. I'm probably at 15,000 hours.
Well, there you go.
And so that's a natural evolution for me. That wasn't something I had to strive for.
Yeah.
Which I'm grateful for my parents and I'm grateful for being from a place where we had ice skating rinks in the wintertime.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So I did a lot of ice skating and inline skating, and that continues today with only some short hiatuses along the way. Musically, though, is a little different story. I was always a music fan. I always loved pop music. I always loved soul music and funk music, and I liked the music that my parents liked, which was the blues and soul music. classic Motown stuff, country music, and my dad was a huge Rolling Stones fan, so I got into like classic rock through my dad. But I never had a drum set, or I never actually had the instrument that I wanted to play that I felt was calling to me. So around age like 14, I'm like, I'm done with this. I need to get a drum set somehow. No more just like all I had was sticks for years, you know?
Yeah.
So I finally got a drum set from this guy, an old buddy of mine, probably when I was in 8th grade. In the summertime, I said to the guy, hey, I'm like dying to play the drum set. It's like it aches how badly I want to play drums, and I want to hit the drums, you know? To me, drums were just something like saw on MTV. I'm talking about actual physical acoustic drums. It was something like it was something like a myth to me. I had to demystify this like idea that kept recurring, and so I was like, all right, no more looking at pictures of drums on MTV, no more looking at catalogs. I'm gonna get a drum set. And I told my buddy I'm aching for a drum set, and he said, man, I have a drum set in my garage. Like, no one ever uses it. It's like in the corner. I said, I want it. Give it to me. He's like, all right, but you gotta give me some money. So I gave him $5 for this drum set, and it actually ended up being like a nice maple Ludwig snare, and then some other junky drums, but like one or two.
The Ludwig snare was worth more than.
Oh yeah, I don't have it anymore. I wish I had it, because this drum was actually like it was a high quality drum. It would be something I'd use today.
Yeah.
And I got that drum set from him. I pulled it home in my wagon about 5-6 blocks. And I started playing that drum set all the time. I played along with a lot of Rolling Stones, Beatles, Led Zeppelin, kind of classic rock stuff that you would, Pink Floyd, Deep Purple, Humble Pie, Canned Heat. So I got into a lot of blues stuff. This is like after I got the drum set, rock and roll, got into the blues. But as I got into the blues and deeper into the drum set, and my parents started to take notice, hey, he's like really into this and he's like sounding better, they put me into lessons. And
what age was that?
That was at like 14 or 15.
Okay.
My freshman year. So I never had any musical training, but I started band my freshman year of high school, and I played bass drum in the marching band. And I started getting into marching music and started hanging with other drummers and getting my chops strong. But then jazz band came in high school, and I tried out for that, and I made that. My second, I don't think I tried out my first year, but sophomore year, after I had a year of experience drumming and teaching myself and having getting instruction from an actual instructor, I joined jazz band and I started playing jazz. I started studying jazz and listening to jazz obsessively. And that was a lot of Miles Davis and Charles Mingus. Mm-hmm. But since then, I've gone through all of the jazz artists. I've been through really in-depth listening and playing, and so jazz is sort of my idiom for my instrument. Yeah. And through jazz, I got into Latin music through jazz band, and I started playing timbales, congos. I started playing bossa nova on the drum set. So I started like really digging deep into the roots of Brazilian music, Cuban music, and jazz.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So you ended up, you mentioned bossa nova, and I think we had talked about this once before. Mm-hmm. You've gotten pretty deep into bossa nova. Super deep.
Yeah.
So how did that? When you heard it, was it just something you're just like, oh, I gotta do this?
Kind of, yeah. Because there was something about that music that was just so different from the other kinds of music that I was used to, pop music and rock and roll. When I heard bossa nova, it was this subtle, nuanced, delicate, but still embedded in it was this like profound depth. So
there's almost like this floating rhythm. Mm-hmm. You barely feel like that you're driving toward a particular thing. Like every other music, like to me, it has like this. We're on one. And bossa nova, you feel like you're just like you're out there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Yeah, in all of our not all, but in so much of our music, we have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. But in Brazilian music, you don't have that. It's not there quite, right? You have an emphasis on beats 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have this like delicate.
Yeah. It's almost like where you're drawn away from 1 and 3.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah, 1 and 3 are like tacit, but
Yeah.
they're also that silence is part of the landscape of the beauty of that music.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So through bossa nova, I then went even deeper into Brazilian music, and I wondered, where's bossa nova from? What's that all about? And I started to learn about samba, more of the like roots of Brazilian music, because you might know this, you probably do. Bossa nova is like a jazz style that emerged simultaneously, like with American artists and Brazilian artists like Jobim and João Gilberto. Like those guys were hanging with guys like Stan Getz and probably Miles Davis and like the heavy hitters in the jazz world. But samba music's not quite like that. That has like a very Brazilian specific thing about it. It's not jazz. It's Brazilian, you know. And bossa nova is also Brazilian, but it's sort of straddling both worlds. Yeah. So I got deeper into samba music and the samba batucada, which is like the street percussion groups. I started studying that, the way that the different the bells interact with the caixa and the bass drums and the tamborins, and there's a lot of different components to that, and that's been what I've been doing a lot of in the past like 10 years, is studying that, and especially the pandeiro, the Brazilian tambourine, which is like kind of the quintessential percussion instrument in those samba ensembles.
Yeah.
So that's in a bit of a unpacked nutshell in a way. That's kind of my interest.
That's really cool. It's sort of my interest in music in general is that it's bottomless, but that's if I were in the same boat, like, you know, as a percussionist, that's where you end up. If you want a bottomless amount of stuff to learn, you'd be in Brazilian rhythms and percussion instruments. Like, you're never going to reach the end of that.
Never. In Brazil, because of the African diaspora, there's like so many like, this is maybe sidetracked, but I'll go into it real quick. Like the African music that came to the United States was kind of like discouraged. I mean, we're talking about slave ownership. We're talking about slave trade stuff. And like music coming over with these humans who have been subjugated and oppressed and stuff. And now they're told, no, you're not going to keep those musical traditions here in the United States. So then you have vocal spirituals and the blues comes out of that. But in Brazil, and I suspect in other areas of the world and in South America, the West Indies too, it was encouraged. It was found to, this is a bit sick. It's a bit demented, our human condition, but it was found this makes people more productive whenever they're able to be connected to the things that they love.
Yeah.
Go figure, right?
Yeah.
So
the science of oppression, we'll co-opt it.
Ain't it messed up? Ain't it messed up?
Yeah.
But here we are, and you see the manifestation of those ideologies. No music, in the South American countries, Central American countries, those things exist still, and the music is so deep. And what I was gonna say is that in Brazil, you have so many. There's like more rhythms in Brazil that are like original organic rhythms than like anywhere else in the world. There's like samba, there's afoxé, there's ijexá, there's hundreds of rhythms, and they all like have African origins. In the United States, we're not so lucky, but like you said, I mean, it's bottomless, and Brazil is a really good ethnomusicological kind of study.
Have you been to Brazil?
I've been once, yeah.
No, no kidding. Did you make it a learning trip, or was it just a cultural? I'm going to go hang out and see what it's like.
It was a family thing. It was a not a musical trip, so I didn't really like fully immerse myself in music there, but I did have a chance to play a little bit. and I got a sense of the culture there too. So, on the other hand, I went to West Africa. I went to the country of Ghana, and I
no
actually
kidding.
studied and played djembe, and
Djembe in Ghana.
and studied like West African music with Ghanaians, and that was fantastic. So I'd like to take that kind of experience and go to Brazil and sort of sit in Brazil over the summer for a month and a half and just get immersed.
Yeah, that's really
It
cool.
would help with my Portuguese too, which is
well.
absolutely subpar.
There's not very many opportunities in Houston for Portuguese.
No, they have to be sought out,
Yeah.
and I don't quite have the energy.
So you went to school here in Houston? Is that true?
So I started school in Indiana at Holy Cross College at Notre Dame's campus. And then I got my associate's degree there, and then I went back to Pittsburgh, where I'm originally from. And I started finishing my bachelor's degree at Point Park University, which is actually a famous dance school. Although we have an engineering and business program and all kinds of different programs. It's really a dance school, though, and a fine arts conservatory. I did my liberal studies degree in the humanities and in psychology, depth psychology. So I studied like Carl Jung and other forms of humanistic qualitative psychology. And
No
then,
kidding. So
yeah.
no music, no education.
I don't have any music education.
But it was psychology and what was it? It was a dual major.
It was a major. It was
liberal studies.
A bachelor's of science in liberal studies with a concentration in humanistic psychology, neo-Jungian psychology, and Point Park is close to Duquesne
Just to round it
University.
out,
Just to round it
get
out.
the-
I
get
didn't
the square off.
exactly. I didn't want to be just humanities,
Well, it kind of makes sense in like some far-reaching manner. You're digging around in the muck of the brain with like some of the sort of the ancient archetypes that Jung is talking about,
Totally.
and then you go dig around in like Brazilian rhythms for like the original rhythms, and the closest to the primitive beats that you can get. I mean, you're
Absolutely.
playing the primitive soul like a. Anyway, I don't want to get too heavy.
No, you're right. You're right. Rhythms are like archetypes. Like
Yeah.
this rhythm here, check, 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 check.
Yeah.
Probably found in every culture in the world.
Yeah.
But you tweak this nuance, the subtlety of this groove one little bit this way, and all of a sudden you're playing something that is uniquely Brazilian or
Yeah.
uniquely Middle Eastern. So those archetypes, rhythmic archetypes, are very. I mean, that's exactly what you said. That's like the stuff of the depths.
Yeah.
And that's. Although I didn't study music in college, I was a musician and a performer, and so I was always interpreting and taking in this kind of information as a musician. So you're right on point, exactly. Like that was how I took that stuff in.
That's great.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm a musician too. I've done a lot of reading on the same subjects. I think
Uh-huh.
in art in general, it helps. I mean, just dealing with the archetypes. Maybe just to be a human being in general.
That's all I deal with.
That's
anymore.
all you deal with anymore is archetypes. He's a visual artist.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and that would be true. I see those archetypes all the time in his work and other people's work. I mean, when it resonates, you're dealing with archetypes.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't matter whether it's sound or all that stuff. So it's
Yeah.
your description of your education is something I go, oh man, that's a cool idea. Like it's just like sort of rip it apart and still be dealing with the music at the same time. It's a really cool idea.
Yeah, and I was still able to. I took one jazz band class, I took jazz at Duquesne University, and over there was some fantastic world-class musician professors. So I still was,
Yeah.
I was still doing music.
Yeah,
But my
some-
focus
for
at that
sure.
time was studying world literature and psychology. And then I came to Houston, and I did a master's in arts leadership at the University of Houston.
Arts leadership. What's that?
Arts leadership it's a relatively new field in the academic world, but in more simple language, I guess, it's basically a nonprofit management degree for the arts. So that degree went through nonprofit finance, nonprofit fundraising, entrepreneurship and alternative business models in the arts, marketing and PR in the arts, but really all based around organizations that are 501c3s. And I did a practicum with the Houston Symphony in the Department of Community Engagement, 300 hours, and that was like community engagement and education.
Wow, that's
Nonprofit stuff, you know?
that's amazing.
Yeah. And so I finished that in 2016. And if I can anticipate your next question about teaching, before I did that, I earned my alternative certification. So no, I didn't do teaching in college or anything, you know, my bachelor's degree and everything. But when I decided like I want to, you know, make a career, I'm like, I think I'm a teacher. There's part of me that is like really a teacher, you know. And so I did my alternative certification, did my master's degree. After I did my master's degree, I secured a job as a music teacher.
And where was that?
That's at the Arabic language school.
But you're also doing, as you were becoming a teacher, weren't you also doing, you did the Houston Symphony internship, but didn't you also do some work at HSPVA as well?
That's right. Okay, so during my time as a student getting my master's degree, and while I was doing my alternative certification, I was a substitute teacher.
Okay,
so this was an amazing opportunity to go around to the different schools in Houston and find out what I liked. And I substituted at so many different schools, so many elementary schools and high schools, and I found some schools that I really liked. The schools that I tended to like were performing arts magnets. Go figure.
Yeah.
And I started working a lot at Gregory Lincoln Elementary School, which is a fine arts magnet in Houston. And then I also started subbing at HSPVA. HSPVA is the most amazing school. The High School for Performing and Visual Arts in Houston is a haven for young artists and creative types to really be taken seriously and to find home their craft. And so being in that context, working at HSPVA was fantastic. I got to substitute for band, orchestra, music theory, chemistry, French, Spanish, like everything. So I taught all of the different classes at that school. In my time at HSPVA, I also became the accompanist for the modern dance class. So I was a teacher, but then I was a performer, performing drums live for dance classes. And yeah, I can't say enough positive things about that school. That's a fantastic school.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that you got the opportunity for that kind of exposure to it as well. So you mentioned a couple times that you perform. So you've been performing around Houston. Have you? I mean, is this did you perform before you were here outside of? And I know you did some in Pittsburgh, right? And then you've been here. So what do you do here now?
In Pittsburgh I did tons of jazz trio and quartet work, and then when I came to Houston, the jazz thing sort of faded away, and I started to get called a lot for Brazilian music.
No kidding.
So I did a lot of work with the Brazilian Arts Foundation when I first moved to Houston, including stuff with the Young Audiences program, going into schools and showing them the capoeira or some of the samba, more folkloric kind of samba styles. Most recently, I've been working regularly with a singer named Giselle Duque, and she's a Brazilian lady who is one of the most phenomenal singers I've ever worked with. Just such a natural talent, and we perform regularly. We perform at a club downtown called Batanga, and it's
Is that a dedicated music club?
It's a dedicated music club. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday mornings they have live music. So we're there on Fridays and Saturdays most of the time.
Most of the time, so she's got like kind of a regular gig there. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you gotta come. And that, I think you'll like our music. Our guitar player is a Brazilian dude. He is so fantastic. Technically, just so clean and amazing at guitar, and just knows so much. Our bassist is a finance guy who happens to be another one of the most fantastic Brazilian music. He's an American guy, but he knows Brazilian music so well. And so that's drum set, bass, guitar, and vocals. And we do a mix of samba, bossa nova, funk, reggae, axé is a Brazilian style. We'll do pop music. We do Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars. So we do all kinds of stuff. And that's a really fun gig.
That's cool.
Invite you to come anytime, man. Come on down, please.
And I'll put links to the club on the blog entry for this this podcast as well. That's nice. Just that alone, I could probably go see that a couple dozen times too. Brazilian players, I really don't understand how to play the guitar in the Brazilian context. I've played a lot of bossa, but I never really get there. Because Brazilian players have a different way of thinking about the guitar and the way they play it. So,
well, hanging around Brazilians was the only way I feel like I got to that level, because I was always approaching it as a Westerner, as an Anglo white guy, trying to figure out what is this funky music? Why is it so deep and groovy? and then I started hanging around Brazilians, and I started to, catch on through osmosis in a way, like what's going on there musically. And it's beautiful music. So it's about hanging around those people, I think, is one of the ways to really crack into the actual feel that they're getting.
That makes sense.
And duplicate that or become that.
So what kind of stuff are you, if an ideal future, where are you going? Like, what kind of stuff do you want to be doing?
I like what I'm doing now. One of the things that I'm in my first year of teaching as a full-time teacher of record, and I'm learning that the early ages that I'm teaching, there's pros and cons to it as far as content goes.
Yeah.
Like, of course, I love teaching the youngsters, and I love working with them. Am I ever really going to be able to go into the depth of the content that I want to? I don't think that I'll really get there with that early age. It's just, it's not quite, it's not the way that the mind works. They're learning how to come to class and learning to assimilate into, the school system and such. And there's all kinds of issues with the school systems, as you guys probably suspect, as you already know.
No. That's obviously there, and with a group of students, teaching a group of public school students, it's always going to be the same. You're going to have limitations about where you can go with them. There's limitations. That's all. Yeah, exactly like that. But also, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. I can't answer the question definitively, because maybe I kind of like being able to make this impression upon kids at that age. Yeah. Making an impression upon a 6th grader about how cool this stuff is. I might not be able to make that impact that I'm making with a 1st grader who goes, wow. Or maybe, a 1st grader might not even have that aha. They might just go, yeah, cool. That's Brazilian just the language. I'm saying hello in a different language. Yeah. It's you don't know what you're getting. And it's interesting because if you think about it, it's sort of the same digging in the muck. Mm-hmm. Right? So you have the archetypes, and then you're digging in primitive rhythms, and then you use those to communicate with young kids who are just developing, so their language chops. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty cool place to be, if you're interested in digging in the muck. So
right. Yeah, go teach pre-K, kinder, first, and second.
No thanks.
It's some interesting stuff. It's seriously there's serious. It's interesting to watch the mind of a child. Yeah. And what's going on in there, and remember how I perceived the world at that age, and sort of I'm learning more than they are, probably.
Yeah. Or relearning in some ways. Yeah.
It's remembering.
Yeah, like, because there's a lot that's not in the way when you're young and you're learning stuff. Like, you don't go, oh, I'm not sure if I can communicate in my native language. You don't tell yourself stuff like that, you know. And by the time you start being taught music, like, you already know that it's an exceptional thing to be doing, right? And so you're already in your own way. And if you have them at that age and you can, like, sort of teach, you know, beyond them being in their own way, you know, maybe you can do that to yourself as well. It's an idea, you know what I mean? It's anyway, it's an interesting concept.
So what else would I be doing in 5 years? I don't know. I mean, I know that my career thus far, I'm in my 30s now, has been a lot of piecing to. I really feel that I'm an artist type, at least, you know. Not a visual artist, but musical. I've always seen myself as that, and so, you know, I have always had short-term jobs, like only until up until my master's degree. Now, okay, I'm in my 30s. I want to establish this career. I'm not 100% sure which direction it's going, but I like where it's at. I like the point I'm at now. I think where I was going a minute ago, it would be really, really interesting to teach a group of interested, already technically proficient high schoolers, Brazilian music and Cuban music, and I think that would be a really rewarding experience. But like I said, I don't quite know yet.
Yeah,
it's tough to say. What do I want? Man, I wish I could tell you. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what does an artist, what does a musician want? Man, we're never satisfied.
Yeah.
And
though, man, that might sum up our whole podcast, what I've been looking for right there. Like, it's like, we're just never satisfied. Like, it's just like, I could do anything. You could give me any pinnacle of success, and it's just like, it's going to be another thing. I have to do something else. Like, it's just, I'm going to find it.
And we're going to carry that same attitude into our career, if that's education or if that's finance or something. Like, I'm an educator, but I don't know. I could be an educator. I could be a curriculum writer. I could become a vice principal of a performing arts magnet, principal of a performing arts magnet. So I haven't nailed down exactly what I really want. What I really want right now at this moment is to be very stable in the program I'm at now, and solidify the lesson plans and the content and my style of teaching, so that it's really well embedded in my school, and that program is something that people know about and want their kids to go to that school because of my program. Among other things, the school that I work at is fantastic, but musically, if you have a kid that's interested in music, you might look at that school and say, let's apply there.
Yeah.
So, I want to establish that program. I want that to become more rooted.
That's cool.
That's what I want right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
That's serious.
Long term, I'm just trying to survive this sulfuric acid spill, man.
What can you do in Houston? Planning for tomorrow.
Seriously.
You could be hit with a truck full of sulfuric acid.
It could happen. Don't say it can't happen. It happened today.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah.
You got anything else there?
No.
Man, thank
I'm gonna
you.
let you drive
Come
that
on, guys.
one.
What else we got?
Well, we always come to this question: is who would you like to see us interview?
It's tough. I mean, I start brainstorming Houston musicians who are exceptional. Not exceptionally technically necessarily, but have an exceptional outlook and approach to not only music but the art of life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. That's the idea in asking a question like that. I think I'm if I were to put the intention out there, it's like who inspires you. Because that's that's one of the reasons I asked you here. Is like just talking to you. At one of the performances that was you're inspiring. It's like you got a passion for what you're doing. So people like that, that inspire you. So
Yeah. Man, I wish I could pinpoint somebody specifically, like immediately, but
we can always get to it later too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if you think of 30 people 30 minutes down the road,
yeah,
I'll
just send you an email.
Please.
Oh yeah.
Bullet pointed.
Yeah.
In order of import from
That's
least
right.
to.
And it doesn't have to be musicians. It could be
That's right, yeah.
it could, any art. We kind of focus on anything, any creative types. So well, you've listened to some of the podcasts. You see the sort of wide variety of things that we do. So.
During my master's program, this is coming to me right now, and I don't know this gentleman. I only met him the once, but during my master's program, I had a class called Entrepreneurship and Alternative Business Models in the Arts. And for that class, we went to Spring Street Studios and we had a class interview with John Deal. I don't know if you know John Deal.
I know
but John Deal,
yeah.
Okay, well, he is sort of at the center of the Spring Street, Summer Street, Sawyer Street. He's like at the center of all of that.
Yeah.
And he started all of that way back. And he has an interesting story to tell about like how all of that has come to be and where it's sort of going.
Wow, that's interesting.
But what he's doing really is creating a culture of artists.
Yeah.
And that studio district over there has one of the most highly dense studio artist density.
Yeah.
Mixed up in my words here, but there's so many artists there, more than most places in the country. Maybe the Torpedo Factory in Washington. Am I thinking of the right place?
I don't know.
I don't know. There's another place in Washington, D.C. that has something similar, but you got to check me on that. I'm talking from memory from way back. But this guy has an interesting story to tell, and he's an interesting person as far as the Houston art scene is going, because I should be careful. I don't know the gentleman. I remember him being really kind and really nice guy. His story was interesting. I don't recall him really being an artist. So he's this kind
not,
of.
But he's at the pinnacle of it.
But that's such an interesting
like
suggestion. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Because he would probably do it.
I met him with Todd over at the Silos.
Because Todd was thinking about renting a space from him. Yeah. Yeah.
No, well, you can think about it.
It's expensive, isn't it?
It's like
Yeah,
expensive is putting it lightly.
Well, over in Spring Street, I worked over there for a couple months with a company, an entertainment company, right before I had this job. And there's lots of different sized spaces, so depending on your needs, I don't know, there's probably some flexibility.
I know that Todd would need a bigger space because of the stuff that he does.
Yeah, then you're looking at big bucks.
Yeah.
He's one guy. One of the guys that I've worked with extensively is Charlie Perez. He's a percussionist, but he's a jazz drummer. One of the most fantastic drummers I've ever heard. He's an inspiration to me. Like whenever I see him play, I get juiced, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is like a guy who really is. He has refined his playing. He's a few years older than me, so I see myself kind of going in that direction. But he plays so many gigs. He does so much music in Brazilian format, Cuban, jazz, pop. So Charlie Perez, he's got a company called Trade Jazz, and he's fantastic. He's got a cool story to tell too. I think he's an HSPVA grad.
Oh, no kidding.
But fantastic musician. Lois Albez is a Brazilian musician here. She's a guitarist and bassist. Superb musician. Like world class for sure. And here she is just sitting in Houston as like a hidden gem. Just a treasure, and she might have some interesting.
Yeah, that describes Houston like to me to a T. I mean, it's like every corner. It's like you just don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And there it is, right there, gem.
Exactly. It's like our guitarist down at the club that we play at on the weekends. He's here, I think, because of his family or his wife is doing a PhD or something, and here he is. Yeah. So we have this like world-class guitar player. Let's work with him, you know what I mean, and learn from him.
Yeah.
But I'll come up with some other names, and you can think them through and see what fits your vibe the best. But There's
Yeah, a lot of the
people.
time it's just the people who will show up.
That is true.
Because, and we end up with more musicians, I've been noticing, mainly because musicians, you have to be kind of nuts socially.
Well,
And,
hey,
and you'll
here
just,
I am, man.
yeah, that's right. You'll
And
just,
anything you want to promote,
yeah, that's right. Let us know. We'll put it on the
schedule, and we'll have you on again.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, that would be really fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like this is a conversation, we're kind of cracking the surface. You know, there's a lot of depth
Yeah.
to be discussed and
Yeah.
go into some stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, almost everybody that we've interviewed, I want to interview again. You know what I mean? There's like the stories are so interesting, and you're right. All we did was hear your story, like in a sort of a cursory thing. And any one of those subjects, we could go into far more depth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like there's so much philosophy, and especially talking to you about even like the archetypes and stuff like that. There's so much more depth that you can go to in almost any subject when you start getting philosophical about rhythm, art, music, and in the spoken word,
and movement. And
movement.
In the inline skating thing, to me, that's not at all separate from my my musical persona and self. Skating is very fluid and very rhythmic. Skating is like very internal martial arts-esque. And there's like something very Tai Chi and Kung Fu about skating and doing it well. And I like would love to go into depth in conversation about what I mean by that, because it's kind of an uncommon thing. First of all, inline skating is sort of, it's not obsolete, but damn near. It's coming back in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. I'm letting you guys know that now. Inline skating's on the rise.
It's on the rise.
Yeah.
I'm going to get him right. Get it set
We've
right
got
now.
secret clearance on that.
Yeah, you'll just wait.
You
You're gonna
heard it
see.
here first.
So I mean, just like talking about the similarities between inline skating and Tai Chi. That would be a great. I'd love to talk to I'd love to talk more about that.
There's a
anytime.
whole meditation there.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
All right,
All right.
wrap that up.
You guys, thank you so much.
Hey,
No,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Glad to,
Thank you for
share.
coming over,
Yeah.
and it was really great to talk to you.
And again, anytime you want
Absolutely,
to come
feel
and
the same
promote
thing.
something, just let us know. We'll have you on.
I'll be filling up your inbox with
Please do.
all kinds of stuff. We'll
We
be
need it.
promoting. We'll be just get me a parking pass for
Okay.
out front.
That was Duke Hunter.
Duke Hunter
Yeah.
for episode 26.
Yeah. And he was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I like his energy. I like talking to him.
yeah.
I'm gonna
Seems
go-
like a good kid.
He's a good kid. He's going places, that one.
Well, I don't know. He didn't seem too sure about that, but
No,
he
he
knows what
didn't.
to do, but I'm sure whatever.
Well, the
whatever
cool
he
thing,
takes
you
up,
know,
he's
you
gonna
ask
be
somebody,
super
what do you want to be
successful.
doing in the future? I'm doing what I want to do right now. I like that answer. That's cool.
No, it's a good answer.
Yeah. And I'm going to go to Batanga and watch this stuff because that's going to be some cool stuff that I don't normally see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's another show this weekend, American Fangs, who you've seen live before.
Oh, what
But-
day is that?
That's Sunday.
Oh,
at-
Sunday.
I think it's at the White Oak.
Dead Horse DRI, Saturday.
No kidding.
And then Guara's coming to town.
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm hoping my homie got free tickets. I would like a free ticket to Gore, please.
Yeah. Well, anyway, talking to Duke kind of get me all jazzed about music anyway. Like that's
Yeah.
like I'm pretty excited about music. They go, yeah, music. This is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been playing a lot anyway recently. It's just talking to somebody else who's that into what they're doing. That's pretty cool.
Right.
I mean, I don't care what you're doing. If he were chopping rocks with a sledgehammer and he were that passionate about it, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go chop some fucking rocks.
Yeah, you can make a spiritual out of it. It'd be fun.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Twisted Pop Podcast. For show notes, go to twistedpop.com/podcast. Merchandise at bigmyth.com. That's BIG-MYTH.com. In association with nquick.com. Until next time, this is the Twisted Pop Podcast.